Hey everybody, I don't know about you, but I got a case of cabin fever, man, and I'm looking to relieve it somehow. The ice in southeast Pennsylvania here has since gone away. We had a warm spell that killed that. I don't know if we're going to ever get it back again. So, what are you going to do? I might go to Canada next month, but that's another story. Right now, what I did find to do, I looked at my copy of the Pennsylvania fishing regulations for 2018. Pretty interesting stuff in here. I'm sure that you are aware, like I am, of the regulations that pertain to what you're fishing for, be it bass or trout or muskies or whatever the case may be, and also any special regulations for the areas or the lakes or the streams or the rivers that we're fishing in. But there's a lot of other stuff in here that we should be aware of. There's a lot of stuff that kind of makes you wonder why they did it that way or who put that rule or regulation together. So I'm going to cover some of this. Um, I'm not going to cover everything. There's way too much, especially for you trout fishermen. You can have fun with that yourself. But we're going to see a couple things here as we go through the video, and hope you enjoy it. Well, I opened the first page of this, and of course there's some advertisements in there and stuff. But on page 3, there's a list of all the regional law enforcement officers. There's 6 of them. We're in the southeast region here, so that's kind of pertains to where I'm at. But there's northwest, southwest, north central, northeast, south central, and southeast. For some reason, in the southeast region, I'm reading some notes here that I took. The southeast region is the only one that's listed as a post office box. In other words, where the heck are they? So I found the actual address on the Fish Commission website as 255 West Brubaker Valley Road in Elm, PA. But why isn't it printed? Like every other one of them has an address that you could actually physically go to. But the southeast region, for some reason, maybe they don't want you to go. Also, just to complicate the situation, I looked it up on Google real quick, and the real location is listed as 253 Snyder Road in Reading, Pennsylvania. That's 40 miles away. Why is there such a big difference there when the other ones are so cut and dry? Anyway, I don't know, but that's the first thing I found that kind of made me go, what the heck? Okay, on to page 4. Page 4 has a whole bunch of information about the 2018 fishing licenses available. I found one area that's kind of questionable as to why they did it the way they did it. It's the tourist license. You can get a tourist license for 1 day, 3 day, or 7 days. The 1 day and the 3 day is the same cost, $26.90. So I'm going to focus in on that because that's where the problem is. If you get a 1 day tourist license, so you have a friend that comes into the state to visit you, you want to go fishing, you buy a 1 day, you cannot fish from March 15th till April 30th. That's kind of the trout season thing there. However, if that same person buys a 3 day license, which is the same cost, and that's the key here, if they buy a 3 day license, then they're good to go. They can fish March 15th through April 30th. It doesn't matter. Now, you can fish anytime with that tourist license, but if you get a 1 day, you can't fish during that period. So if you're following me on this, that's kind of strange. If they were a different price, then okay, I understand. I called the Fish Commission on this. I said, why is that? They said they didn't want a big influx of people for that opening day of trout season. Well, if the price is the same, what's the difference? I didn't get into that with them. I figured that, I didn't want to start an argument, basically. But there you go. There's a goofy little thing that I found. So good luck with that. But hey, check them out. There's plenty of them available, whether you're old or young or whatever. If you're 16, you need a license. And if you're real old like me, you can get a senior license and never have to buy another one again. So that's pretty easy to do. Okay, just a little bit more on the fishing licenses. I wanted to touch base on it. And you probably already know this. We can buy a 3-year, 5-year, or a 10-year fishing license You can also buy a senior lifetime, and you can buy that any time during the year that you're going to turn 65. You don't have to wait until your actual birthday if it's that same year. But anyway, I got mine almost 5 years ago. So this is the year that it's kind of paid for itself, and from here on out I'll be fishing for free. So I know you can't wait till you get old to get that. Anyway, you can also get, once you buy your regular license that you have to have displayed, everybody knows that, you can also buy one of those old button type licenses that we used to get years and years ago. Some of you don't remember them. They're pretty neat, just a button about the size of a silver dollar. You can look them up. You can buy them online. You can apply for them at any place where you can get your license, but you have to have your regular license first. If you display the button only, you still have to have your paper, your real license, on your person someplace. That doesn't have to be displayed. You can keep that in your pocket or your wallet or whatever. But you got to have that along with the button. Just remember that. That's important. Okay, on to the next thing. Page 8, I'm going to talk about ice fishing a little bit. You cannot have more than 5 devices. That includes your jigging rod or rods and your tip-ups if you're using them. You can't have more than 5. You also have to be near enough to them to be in control. You can't go home for lunch and leave your tip-ups out. You got to be within a reasonable distance. That makes sense. The other thing here is the size of the hole. In Pennsylvania, you cannot have a hole bigger than 10 inches. In any direction being measured, it can't be more than 10 inches. That's, of course, a little safety thing there. Somebody could walk into a hole and break their leg or break their foot, or even worse. Here's a picture from quite a few years ago that I took when we were up in Canada, but it does apply to the size of the hole. This hole here was obviously big enough that I could have jumped right down through there. So that was a bit dangerous. But we were catching really big walleyes, so that's why we had those big holes. Anyway, don't do that. So when you're digging with a spud bar, you got to be careful with that, because when you're chopping that ice with a spud bar, it's really easy to exceed that 10 inches. If you're using an auger, a power drill or a manual auger, then it's pretty easy because the drills are in the different sizes, the 4-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch, 10-inch, whatever the case may be. So be careful of that, especially if you're using a spud bar. That's about all I'm going to touch on with ice fishing, because that's pretty much all they have right there. And here's something really interesting, and I can really appreciate this on page 8. Has a little paragraph here on assistance to children. Years ago, I don't know how many, it's been at least a few, but you weren't even allowed to touch the fishing pole that your child was trying to learn how to fish with if you didn't have a license. Well, you know, that was a shame, and I hope it didn't get enforced too much. But now I think they've come to their senses on that one. And if you're assisting your child or a child with fishing, you can just about do everything. You can bait the hook, and you can cast the line out, and all that. The only thing you can't do is actually set the hook on the fish. So as long as you're not holding the rod and setting the hook, then you're going to be okay. You can really help the child with everything else. You do not need a fishing license as long as you don't set the hook. So what you got to be doing is learning how to say pull, pull, pull when the bobber goes down. So have fun with that. Have fun fishing with your kids. Don't worry about having a license. Okay, the next thing here is something that probably nobody knows unless you've read this like I did. And it's a little bit important because I think we've all done it before. I'm going to read it right from the book so that I get it exactly right the way they put it. This is dealing with crayfish. And I think we've all been out on the little streams and so forth catching crayfish to take with us to use for bait, especially if you're fishing for smallmouth and in largemouth bass. Anyway, right from the book it says, for all crayfish species, the head must be immediately removed behind the eyes upon capture unless used as bait in the water from which they were taken. So you have to take the head off of these crayfish if you're going to take them to another body of water to go fishing. I didn't know that. Pretty interesting. Been a long time since I caught crayfish for bait, but for those of you that do, be aware of that one. Okay, now I'm going to move on to page 9, things that are unlawful. And I think I'm only going to touch on a couple of them. One of them is, in ice fishing, I talked about you can have 5 devices. Regular fishing, though, you can only have 3. So it's illegal to fish with more than 3 fishing lines at any time when fishing for game fish, bait fish, or both. Yeah, there you go. So if you have a 10-foot aluminum pram and you got 5 people in it, you can have 15 lines out, but no more. So be careful with that. It's all, also it says to fail to immediately return unharmed to the waters from which it was taken any fish caught out of season. Now, if you read into that, it's really illegal to hold a fish up to take a picture. And up in Canada, which I go to Canada quite a bit, they enforce that up there. If you're catching fish out of season and are holding them up to take pictures, they will nail you. I don't know if anybody in Pennsylvania has come under that scrutiny or not, but there it is in plain print. So be careful when you're doing that. You catch a fish out of season, let it go. I know we all want to take a picture, and we probably all will, but it's against the law. The other thing is, and everybody hates this, the people that leave trash along the lakeside or stream side or riverside, there's something wrong with them. I go fishing, I walk the banks, and I see bottles and cans and coffee cups and just you name it, lure packages, discarded line, the whole bit. It makes me sick. I can't imagine how a person can actually finish a drink and just throw it down there. It boggles my mind. I hope you're not doing it. If you are, change your ways. Carry a bag with you. Put it in your, crunch it up. Put it in your pocket. Whatever the case may be. I'm not asking you to pick the stuff up that ain't yours. Just don't put it there, and it won't be there. And that's all I got to say about that. It's a touchy subject. I hate trash along the stream side. Okay, moving right along, and I am going to refer to my notes here again. The Big Bass program on page 11 has a full listing of the lakes that are under that regulation, and if they are, the bass have to be 15 inches. There's no tournaments on those waters from April 14th to June 15th. That's so they aren't all picking them off the nest. And there's a list of lakes by county. And around here where I'm at, there's 4 or 5 listed. Lake Nakamixon, my favorite, Hopewell, Chambers Lake, Marsh Creek, another favorite, and Blue Marsh. That's just to name a few. Then they also have a list on page 15 of catch and release only lakes. I didn't know that. There's a small list of lakes that are listed as catch and release only. In these lakes, you may not take, kill, or keep any species from those waters. So that's pretty cut and dry. Panfish enhancement. This is something new that's come along in the last couple of years. I think 2 years ago, or maybe even 1 year, I was interviewed by one of the Fish Commission people when I was fishing at Marsh Creek, and they were asking about the panfish sizes and all that stuff. So now it's come to be where there's a list of lakes that have special size limits for crappies, yellow perch, and sunfish. Crappies 9 inches, yellow perch minimum 9 inches, and sunfish 7 inches. And then also a daily limit of 20 for each species with a total not to exceed 50. So that means you cannot keep 20 of each species on any given day, but you can keep 20 of any one species. and there's about 20 lakes listed at this time, but keep an eye out for additions. I think you're going to see that Marsh Creek is going to be added to that. Just my gut feeling. Page 19 deals with life jackets. Almost enough said there. You got to wear them if you're in a boat less than 16 feet from November 1st to April 30th. I think I have mine on all the time. I don't care if it's, you know, the fall, the spring, the summer, whatever the case may be. Let's be a little safe that way and make sure you're abiding by those regulations. There's health advisories on page 30, 31, 32, and 33. There's information there on how to clean a fish, how to cook a fish, what areas to cut off the fillet, because it's the fatty areas that contain most of these harmful chemicals, PCBs, mercury, and so forth. If you want to scare yourself to death, go ahead and read that list. That'll make you not want to eat too many fish. On the better side, on the good side, fish for free days this year. Every year Pennsylvania has where you can go fishing for free. This year, no license is required on May 27th, which is a Sunday, and Wednesday, July 4th. So you don't need a license those days. You can go out and fish, but you do got to abide by any other rules or regulations. Okay, hey, thanks for watching so far. I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon, but I got two more areas to touch on. One of them on page 34, and I don't know if they do this in every state, but in Pennsylvania now, they show you exactly how to measure a fish, and they do that by squeezing the tail closed, and by doing that, you actually get, you know, an extra maybe a half inch to an inch more in your measurement. So something like this would help if you're fishing those panfish lakes with special regulations. If you measure the fish this way, you might be able to keep a few more of the ones that you would normally throw back because of the old way you used to measure. So look at that. Be aware of that. It might help you out one of these days. Anyway, the last thing in here, there is page after page after page, and they're yellow, of trout fishing rules, regulations, and places, and streams by county, and so forth and so on. It's quite extensive. I'm not going to go into that. But you should, if you didn't pick up one of these when you bought your license, you should stop by any place that has licenses. These are free. You can pick them right up. Go through it like I did. It's some interesting reading, and you might find something that applies to you that you didn't know. Anyway, I hope you liked the video, and hey, thanks a lot for watching. And I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I hope it's going to be exciting. Maybe a trip to Canada.